one of the things that really interested me when you and I had a conversation about you coming here is you said something I have never heard anyone say who's running for any office from, down at my level with DAs and sheriffs and constables on up, is that you have a philosophy to all of this. That and what you told me about that was impressive, and I'd kind of like you to sort of unpack that for me.
Yeah, so outside of my political beliefs, I do love philosophy. There have been a lot of great minds that have existed over the course of human history, and I think that going back and reading, the way that they thought about things is very important. For example, one of the greatest philosophers that I sort of follow is a guy named Marcus Aurelius. We were kind of talking about him.
Oh yes, I am a Stoic myself.
Yeah.
I have. Okay, go ahead.
So
no, but this is what it sounds like when doves cry. The meditation solution.
You guys are adorable together. I'm just saying this, man.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
Make sure that camera's in nice.
Is there a nice little
there?
Yes. But yeah, so Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great emperors of Rome. And he ushered in this period that was known as relative peace in Rome, in which Rome was still out doing its thing. It was still conquering the world, and but within the actual within Rome, it was stable. And a big part of that was, I think, because Marcus Aurelius understood human tendency, and he understood what it means and how effective an individual can be if they're capable of removing themselves from their own individual perspectives and taking time to recognize that each person has a perspective that they guard more than anything else, right? Because your perspective is your reality, and it's a culmination of the way your 5 senses have informed you over the course of your entire existence. And because of that, everybody thinks their perspective's right, and nobody wants to admit it's wrong. And it puts you in a position to where, for example, right now, one of the things that you see in Congress a lot is people just throwing these verbal grenades across the aisle in the name of common sense, thinking that in some way that's going to be how we are going to move things forward, whether you agree with each other or not. I have strong conservative beliefs. I'm happy to sit across the table from someone and have an actual dialogue with them about why I think what I think and actually listen to them too. We might not agree at the end of the day, but guess what? Even the act of just listening to an individual puts them in a different mindset where they might then go out and be willing to actually listen to you. And we're just not there right now. And so, when I talk about my philosophy, really what I mean is exactly that. The act of removing myself from my perspective just a little bit so I can better understand where people are coming from. So if nothing else, I have a better way to counter where they're coming from.
Yeah.
If the more you understand your opposition, the more you understand your enemy, the more effective you're always going to be in defeating your enemy. Now, I'm not saying we need to go out and slay all the Democrats. That's not what I'm saying here.
Right.
But I'm saying
we know what you're driving.
Yeah, that's how you say it. That's brilliant, because that's what people take away is this head-on, worthless, just pounding.
You're in a really good position to bridge that gap.
Yeah,
I think it better than a lot.
That's a brilliant way of saying it,
because you're approaching it from the standpoint of the standpoint of humanity first. It kind of goes back to you're talking about. Okay, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Just real quickly. I know you got to go.
Oh,
my grandparents, who I cry when I miss them, were Democrats. They were blue
dogs. Yeah,
they were blue dog Texas Democrats, and we disagreed, especially as I got older, developed my political identity and my self-image. We disagreed on certain things, but one thing that we always agreed on was that we loved America.
Right.
We didn't hate America. We didn't want to punish America. We wanted America to be a better place. We may disagree on how we're going to do that, and we can get together and talk about that as Americans and figure out a way to do it. And one of the things my grandma always said, which references back one of your comments, is that you always know how much love there is in a society by how they treat little kids and old people. And my grandparents were Fraternal Order of Eagles. They fought for the Social Security Act, which the Fraternal Order of Eagles was instrumental in.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things where I think a guy like you, who has a philosophy, who understands guys like Marcus Aurelius, who one of the most important things he ever said is that the soul will become dyed with the color of its thoughts. So if we can just understand,
We
that
could probably talk about this for hours.
we can go on and on.
That's how this is. That's the thing that's happened in this room for decades, and how it wound up with a microphone.
Oh, I love it.
This is
I love
how this is how it got started.
That's beautiful.